right? And so that for me at this point in my life has become really important because obviously I do not compete anymore. But it was a huge change to go from the Nike Jet to Wazelle, where it was like, oh, we can't afford a plane ticket. You're going to have to take the train and just all sorts of stuff. But it was totally worth it.
Oh, cool. So later on, and it wasn't just what your story or even your sport, but all these allegations of PEDs and abuse were happening in other sports as well. And you had to go to court and speak about it. Is that correct?
Yeah, so there was a couple different cases. The first case was USADA versus Alberto Salazar and Dr. Jeffrey Brown, who was a team doctor we had. It wasn't me versus them. It was them finding evidence that anti-doping rules had been broken. And I had to go and testify for both of those hearings. Um, in those hearings, both Dr. Brown and Alberto, those are two separate hearings, but the results were announced at the same time. The American Arbitration Association banned them both for 4 years. They both immediately filed an appeal. So we went through it again in front of the Court of Arbitration of Sport. So then I had to go testify again in front of the Court of Arbitration of Sport. While that was going on, people filed a Safe Sport report, which is Safe Sport is an organization in the United States. It's funded by the US Congress, and it's to protect athletes in sport. And it protects against mostly sexual abuse in sport. And someone had filed a report with Safe Sport. When Safe Sport first came to me, I did not want to be involved. I didn't want to talk about the stuff that I had experienced. It's embarrassing. I was a grown woman and I didn't say no and I didn't fight back. Um, and so when Safe Sport first came, I said, no, I have no interest in being a part of your case. But then another athlete that was coached by Salazar, by Alberto, filed with Safe Sport. And I kind of thought maybe this is my chance to make up for not doing the right thing all those years ago. Not talking to her all those years ago. And I really started to think about my nieces too and other women that I feel like would have reacted the same way I did, which was just let it happen and not say anything. And so I ended up testifying in the Safe Sport hearing where he ended up being banned for life. And then he appealed that decision. And so we had to go again in front of the court again for the second hearing. And that one was, the first time it wasn't that bad because I was protected. I didn't have to see him. The second time was much more intense and it was more like a trial. So his lawyer was asking me questions and um, it was just a really horrible experience. But at the end of the day, he was still banned for life. So what that means is his doping ban is up. So he could coach at the NCAA level or at the sub elite level or anywhere else than the United States. But with the Safe Sport ban, he can't coach at the Olympic level in the United States. But it only falls under that small jurisdiction, Olympic level in the U.S.
Well, that'll be a disadvantage for him in the next Olympics because obviously it's LA, so he won't be able to coach in there at all. Is that
No.
correct?
Yeah, I mean, certainly no U.S. athletes, and because it's being held there, I don't think he'd be able to be there because it would be a meet in U.S. soil. So, um, it's sad. It's not like I feel happy about it. I know how much he loves coaching, but the truth of the matter is he shouldn't be coaching. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
indeed. So that's happened, and what are you doing now? What's Kara Goucher doing now? Because obviously, when we spoke to try and arrange this, you said I think you were commentating on the Olympics in Paris. So
Mhm.
is that your main thing now, media work, or if not, what else are you doing?
Yeah, so my son would tell you that his mom has a million jobs, but basically I'm just still in running, right? So I still am sponsored by Wazelle, so I still do a lot of events building up women's running. I'm sponsored by Brooks Running now for footwear, so I do a lot with Brooks with youth running because I'm really passionate about youth running. Obviously, I have a child. I am on the board of USADA, which is the United States Anti-Doping Organization here in the United States. So I go to Congress and I go to the Capitol and ask for more funding and talk about the challenges of being a clean athlete in the system we have. And then, yes, I work for NBC. I'm the distance analyst for track and field. So for like U.S. championships, the World Championships, Olympics, things like that. You don't hear it because you're not here in the United States. But if you listen to the United States, it's my voice. Any race, 1,500 meters and up. And then I also host a podcast with Des Linden, who's a big runner here in the United States who won the Boston Marathon. And we host a podcast together called Nobody Asked Us, where we just talk about running related things. So a lot of random stuff, but basically anything running related, I love it. And I still want to be involved.